there is immense possibility of this understanding. Is it enlightenment only for one single person, or is it a collective process? We will get to know the picture in a small fragmented knowing, and we have to join the dots. That means if one being has channeled a certain level of information or certain level of a thought drawn possibility, that has to merge with something else to make it complete. It's like an orchestration process. There's a drummer, there's a flautist, there is a guitarist, there is a singer, there is a violinist, there's a cello player. That means when they all come together and have a jamming session, the deep knowingness of that musicality comes together, and there's a subtle mix happening. They don't have to know the entire musical scales, they don't have to know anything, they just come together, and the innermost heart connection happens between the musicians, and then the orchestra comes alive. There is a depth. This is a pure possibility. I am calling it pure play, that something magical is penetrating and the connect happens. So everybody does not get to know everything. But then the collective awareness that is flowing through many, and the many come together, and the unified awareness of it helps us to shape it up and to realize the larger picture. That means there is the magic of the divine is in its multi beams. There are multi beams flowing through that one beam, and it is flowing for a certain person at the some time because of the alignment of that person at that moment. So that person expresses, and there is multiple expressions, each of them flowing in multiple directions, and they all need to be collated. And when they bring together that collated awareness, the collective awareness, I will not use the word consciousness so loosely. People call it collective consciousness. There is only one consciousness, and consciousness cannot be measured, cannot be compared, cannot be calibrated as the way we have understood from scientific parlance. It is something which is already permeated across the entire universal existences in multiverses. And how can it be measured by our fragmented thinking process, or a tool or a gadget which can, using a scientific mechanism? How is it going to be possible? It's like trying to measure love inside a laboratory. It falls short of even the slightest understanding. How can love? Okay, you can measure the chemicals release. Oh, oxytocin is released. Oh, look, now it's traveling down. You're feeling love. You're feeling bonded chemicals passing through you. But it is not the calibration of that knowing, because love can be expansive, feeling universality within you. You can feel love for a stranger on the street. You can feel love for a person whom you have never met in this lifetime. So how can love be fragmented to an encounter with a person on a physical domain? So that means there is a fragmented understanding which needs to be expanded, and the unification that happens enables us to realize that there is, the truth flows in many billions or trillions of ways, and yet it has the uniqueness and fragrance. It can bring this thing together. So the sign of enlightened awareness is unified awareness, unity in everything. It cannot be that I know and rest of them don't. That beam can penetrate and make you feel insignificant in one moment. That I has completely collapsed. You don't know anything. So if you don't know anything, how do we know that? How we can calibrate this awareness through our limited knowingness of our education system? The language which we use is not even able to express what is possible. We fall short. We are not able to realize what is possible, and we try our best to express it, and we fall short. That's when look at this understanding. Para, the beyond, is penetrating through all of us equally. But what we are missing is our ability to realign to that beam in the most beautiful way. And the most beautiful way is purest stillness, purest silence. And what we do every single technique, but not it. So it is so close to us that we are missing it. We are trying to readjust, realign. The beam it's like trying to do air-to-air refueling, and the aircrafts are wobbling around. The smallest of error and the pipeline cannot fit into the nozzle. So that means we have to have calibration, and calibration does not come from human manipulation. It comes from divine intervention. There is a vested interest. The universe knows you are so desperate into alignment that when you least expect it, a beam of light called Guru Kripa passes through, and that collapses you, and when you least expect it, it silences you. There is no more trying to be grasping. You are zero. In that zero, that master flow will happen. The connection becomes so supreme that you experience the void of voids, the darkest dark. In the darkest dark, the Shambho, the something magical penetrates, and you don't even know how to express it. You can be shunted from communication, and because all words have failed, all the language that we think we know cannot do justice to the depth, and yet the fragrance prevails, yet the effect of it prevails. That means the power lies in its effect, and when we have power flowing through us, we don't have to claim it or show it. It just happens, magically happens. So there is no trying to position it and trying to upscale it, brand it, give it a title, name, fame, glory, and all these look very, very, very inadequate and inexpressible, because when we really access that knowingness, all this looks so insignificant, irrelevant, that because the essence of it is we are eternal. We are not meant, we are just passing through this beam, and this beam in the cosmos time called Brahma Kalpa is not even a nanosecond. This entire journey is not even a nanosecond for the creation. For our human journey, we consider 100 long years maybe of a beautiful innings of this life, and yet we are not even in the cosmos time a nanosecond projection beam. So that means, what have we attained in this beam? A stretch of time with thousands of events, thousands of encounters, memories, and so much of grasping, clasping, and yet we are remaining entangled, disturbed, distorted, because we have not yet clicked in to that knowingness that the eternality has to replace the transient struggle. What looks like a struggle is actually a friction required for the ignition to happen, and the fire will come alive into the powerful light, and the pratikasham iti pratyaksham, the light plus light, will penetrate and dissolve all the fragmented struggle of these weak reflected lights that we are experiencing, and then the powerful knowingness is permanent in its nature. Yet it has an expression which can be very subjective. It can be very transient. That means, how long can we beam this is the levels of purity that we can sustain. They studied the lives of many, many beautiful beings on this planet. How long could they channel that beam? It all depended on the levels of sustained purity, uncorrupted purity. The minute we claim that I am the one, I am the doer, this beam lost its fragrance, lost its frequency. It shifted to another being who was capable of channeling that purity. So that means that's what is the fallibility of our ego, that we think that we are the doers and we are going to do it, and something, arrogance, takes over, an arrogance which can distort the beauty and fragrance of that enlightened awareness, and then we fall short, and what looks like a magnificent expression has become individual struggle of power and glory. The corruption has taken over. We have become weak. We have become, the body starts failing. We are trying to control others. We are trying to control the lives of others. First we lose control on this body. I have seen so many beautiful beings eventually becoming chronically ill, not able to handle the light, not able to do justice to what they claim. That means all the grand philosophy falls on its face, and you see a sick person battling with chronic ailments, terminal diseases, and yet claiming the enlightened being passing through.